system. Mark, could you tap us on the shoulder? Thanks, brother. Thank you. All right. And so, if this is good stuff, you might want to hear it. I don't know who wouldn't. Hey, but one person will want to hear this. And them the ones we after. So we know we wouldn't have that in this room because we know what they would do. If they was listening to it, they wouldn't want you to hear it. That's the first thing they do is, well, he might can tell it to them, but I sure hope they can't hear it. So part of what we're saying is that we feel comfortable enough in the saddle on the field with them that we're not only going to whip them, but we're going to whip them bad enough so that the people can rejoice in the fact that you have earned room and the race has earned this room, and we're not letting them go and retrench on the direction of the rebellion.
When you say pale horse, are you talking in relation to like a white person, or are you talking about the biblical realm?
Well, when we get into the book, and I don't know if I brought my copy of the book, we will get into what he says about it. I don't think I must have not brought my copy of the book. It's a book by William Cooper, who's a white boy who was exposed to some things about UFOs, and he's exposed to some things about FEMA. He's talking about secret societies, MJ-12, the Jason Society, the CFR, the Trilateral, the Protocol. He's got a hodgepodge of a lot of stuff in there. But he also has some anti-black and stuff in there under the guise of Christianity. And what I'm busting up is Epperson, a guy named William Steele, who wrote a book about ancient African secret societies, ancient secret societies and the Masons. And I want to show a thread of whites who in condemning Masonry are using Christianity as a model of exemplary behavior. But as you will hear on Tuesday, me debate one of these guys still, you will see that when you hook Christianity with colonialism, and they find that they're no better than a Mason, that the Mason colonized like the Christian colonized, and to a victim, I can't see no difference. So I don't want to hear from the one or hear from the other and make them not think I see them the same. And the fact that it leaves. Some of these books, or these white boys have written books that are of great value to us. They are telling on other white boys. We need to use those books, but we must have an avenue to sort out what the white boy is saying while he's saying it. Like I say, that book is sold in the final call. It says the minister recommends the secret relationship of blacks and Jews. He recommends Behold a Pale White Horse. In fact, my copy comes from the Brothers of the Nation here as we watch them. So my contribution now is to take this book that is being fed to the black community and digest it to the community in a way that well, as you see the white people got their little lactose things and make the milk go down better. Well, this is just something that I'm trying to do to make the white boy milk go down. Since we're going to drink it, I might as well give them the little lactose thing, make it go down better. So we need that type of, and so that's going to be Tuesday. And then, but tonight, there's some things about the intelligence community that I have to share with everyone as we give some attention. Anytime anybody pick up anything of the tapes to understand, we have always had a component to fight the intelligence community while we have fought. From the very beginning of the days when I learned to do the trilateral, I also had the little local spies in one hand, so that with them in this hand, I fought for the right to say trilateral. When I went to say Trilateral Commission and CFR in Chicago, there was a group who came out and attacked it as irrelevant information. As information that we should actually be thinking about crime, and we should be thinking about drugs, and we should be thinking about education. And them other white people are irrelevant, even though they are the source of the inabilities of those areas. So before I could do trilateral, I had to have the goods on the local people. In this case, it was Jesse Jackson, the NAACP, the Urban League, some of the little fake nationalists. All of them we had in Chicago. And I found many of our very valiant nationalists were going through leadership training with the major corporations, who would bring them to their house on the weekend, making them familiar with all the big white businessmen, so that if ever there's trouble, they can call each other at home. Well, that means that's how you diffuse the trial. I'm not interested in diffusing a fire that I started. So then we found the little early warning system, where under the guise of a community coalition, Jesse Jackson and the Anti-Defamation League and the American Jewish Committee and the American Jewish Congress. This is the first time that I had valid proof in my hand that those Jewish organizations were actually monitoring black people, and that they hung with other black people who cooperated to have an intelligence gathering project when it was nothing but community groups. There was no CIA in the batch. And so this information in this hand helped me stand up for the right to expose the information in my right hand. And I only used this when I had to. And in your relationship with the intelligence community, the goal is to neutralize the person. Sometimes it's not good to overexpose them. Overexposure forces replacement. Once they come in with somebody else, you got to go figure out again who that was. So you never overexpose them, you quasi-expose them. You let the key players know who the person is and do your best to lead the person in place. You don't want them out of place. And so we keep conscious of why we study them. And I get the impression, and I know there was another one of them big coalition meetings since the rebellion, but I get the impression, my own impression, is that since the rebellion, the community has found again that it is unable to get all its horses onto one track and come up with some real organized combustion. They kind of understanding that when they went to get together, when the white man wasn't looking, that it was black people in the room who kept them from getting that thing wound up just right and letting it loose. And now after 2-3 months later, and the white boy, I watched the white boys go to trial the other day saying, oh, I shouldn't be in trial. Rodney King should be in trial. And he the one using drugs. They said, well, there was no evidence. That's right, I know he was using drugs. The white boys are still saying anything they want to say. The time has passed and there's no remorse. In the meantime, they humping them brothers, and the brothers is fucking up some of their own shit. Pleading with the white man. Our brother got on the ropes, he got to pleading with the white man. That was a disgrace. And it just shows at some moment what happens when there is an organized thought about the enemy. Organized thought is, of course, is that if you slugged him because you thought he was an obstacle, and 2-3 hours later, Gates come to your house and pick you up, and then the next white man you see, you grip to that white man as if somehow he, in lieu of all other whites who wanted to get you, going to help you out. Then see you all distorted, and maybe losing you right now ain't so bad. While you go get your shit together, because you tripping. See, there's some tripping the shit, and we got to clean that out. See all that? I saw the dude on the Arsenio Hall show the other night, George Wallace, right? He does the little move. He said, now why in L.A.? They gonna hit the man, and then the guy gonna do, and he's doing all kinds of dances, right? Trying to duplicate the brother doing the little dance after he swallowed him with the brick. And the point of it is that obviously there was some distortion in his mind about how to deal with the enemy. And we should take that personally. That whatever it was, and even looking up at the camera, waving at the camera upstairs, hey, camera, you know, dancing in front of the camera and shit, that's some stuff. And I wonder why didn't nobody fuck the damn helicopter up? Check. Now, in some cases, reporters were beat all over the country. Reporters, as a lot, took a better ass kicking on this last round than they have in Bolshevik or Slavolonia or wherever they had it. They took some ass kicking during the rebellion. Sometimes shooting them is the easy way out. Sometimes beating them puts a chilling effect on them. You know the shit they got on you. The chilling effect. So we be up on that, but they took a beating so that people did learn about taking the camera. But now we also got to learn about burying our own film. If we're going to take the film, you got to hide. You can't hide a damn videotape, you might as well go to jail. Because it ain't but this big. You can't hide nothing that big in your house. 100 white men ought to be able to come in your house and can't find that. You ought to be that sophisticated. But anyway, so we keep up with them. But I was just looking through this old COINTELPRO book. This is from the Supplementary Detailed Staff Reports on Intelligence Activities and the Rights of Americans, Book 3. This is the book that reveals the existence of COINTELPRO, which you now see in different books, Racial Matters, the Malcolm X Files. There are a lot of books out now telling you about things that in this book. This is the full report. This is a Senate book. This is a Church Committee book. There were about 13 of them in all. This is the one that dealt with COINTELPRO. But interestingly enough, I was looking in the back, looking for some programs that were lesser named, like Project Maryland in Washington, D.C., which talked about the infiltration of Washington, D.C. to protect the buildings in Washington from attack from community groups. And interestingly enough, you'll hear a tape here called The District in Trouble that I did in Washington. And in this District in Trouble tape, oh, what time the kitchen closes, Sister Jamie?
8:30.
What time is it now?
8:20.
Okay, anybody want food, remember that. The kitchen closes at 8:30. That in the District in Trouble tape, we talk about the monitoring of protests in Washington, D.C. And there's a policeman from Washington, D.C. in the lecture. And at the end of the program, he came up and was telling me about how they infiltrate the community groups, that they have at least 20 to 30-day advance of protests and demonstrations. And he just gave me some a little aside dialogue. They got roadblocks in Washington, D.C. now, checking people for a valid license. Now, the Supreme Court has only acknowledged the right for a roadblock for a sobriety check. And this has to be announced. It cannot even be unannounced. But in Washington, they're experimenting with roadblock for license plate check. And on the evening news in Washington, the first night they did it, they showed a black woman handcuffed, thrown up against the car with her babies in the back seat, hollering through they had the window up halfway, they were hollering, "Mommy, mommy, mommy." And it was dark out, and the camera was right up on the car, and the mommy was handcuffed, being drugged along the car by the policeman who was trying to get her out of the camera, while her baby's hollering, "Mommy, mommy, mommy." And her only crime was she didn't have a valid driver's license. And that is not even a prosecutable offense. But what we found out was that in Washington, they put on the books a law to make it the right to secure you for 48 hours if you ain't got valid license plate, bond card, or any of the other things, or outstanding traffic tickets, only as many as 2 tickets, right? That's parking. So you can see that something's going on, right? Something's going on in response to the rebellion. But you listen to the people talking about the public housing having huge fences put up, 10-foot tall fences without openings. First time they put the fence down in the public housing in D.C., they didn't put the openings, didn't put any openings on, locked the people in, said it was accident. This housing project that they fenced in, how many of you all saw the movie Patriot Games? Anybody see the movie Patriot Games?
Yeah.
Well, there's a portion in the movie that deals with aerial photography.
That's right.
Well, that office of National Reconnaissance is in Washington, D.C., right in the middle of the black community. Right in the edge of the water is the Navy satellite reconnaissance thing that you saw in Patriot Games, is right on the water in Washington, D.C., surrounded by Anacostia segment of the black community there. And it's surrounded, literally, the Navy Yard could not escape unless they went out through the water. So we went to Washington. I put heavy pressure on the Reconnaissance Division by telling the people in Washington, D.C. to watch them, to put guard on them, to keep a track of them. This would be a contribution to enlighten them about, and they showed that the capability of the aerial satellite was so strong they could tell whether the woman was black-haired or blonde-haired walking from tent to tent in the desert in northern Africa. That's the analogy that it showed, that the equipment was so clear in terms of giving a shot from the sky that they could pick up whether a woman was blonde-haired or black-haired in the middle of the desert from the satellite. And it was giving tribute to their own technology, which was subtly placed in the film. And even your own LA Times said that the CIA, in fact, I said this story here, you can look it back up. This was your story on Patriot Games when it came out, dated June 5th, 1992, was that the CIA gave more assistance to this movie than any movie in the last 20 years. They assisted in inserting technology, allowing access to CIA headquarters. So there must be something in the movie, and that was that the Irish were bad, the CIA was good, and they had a little technology where they stuck a little spoon mic up under they stuck this little long spoke up under a door, and they had a camera on the end of it. You can look inside a house by just sticking it up under the door. And of course, heat-seeking technology is being exposed in a lot of movies, like Universal Soldier and so forth. But look carefully at different moments when you see people beating heat-seeking technology. I remember in Predator, where the Predator had it, which was in dreadlocks. But old boy hid in the mud to beat the heat seeker. And the Universal Soldier, they used ice. They laid in a trunk of a car, put ice over their body to beat the heat-seeking device of the soldiers. Now all high-tech upcoming military gonna have this heat-seeking capability. Where's Coakley at home? Well, let's turn on the heat seeker and pick up his body moving in the house through the concrete. And that capability is real. So the thought is, if they're coming down your block and looking for someone that belongs to us, how do you counter the ability of the heat-seeking weaponry? And so we have to constantly keep flowing. And many of the antidotes are very crude. Ice don't cost much. So you might have to keep 3, 4, 5, 6 bags of ice hanging in your freezer and be able to hook the ice up on a closet door in a way that no heat radiates from the closet which you're standing up against. Check? Yeah. You got a closet door. You hang the ice on the door. You stand up against the door. You, in effect, neutralize the ability of the heat-seeking weaponry. Same thing was used in the movie Aliens, the heat-seeking weaponry. So just be conscious of that. The one who responds to the rebellion got that type of equipment. How many of you all saw the program last night on 2020 about the soldiers who were coming home with the strange diseases? And the interesting thing about it, the one thing they didn't bring up on the show, which I thought was so ironic, was the shot. Yeah. They did not mention the shot in the whole program. There are soldiers who got their hair falling out. They got bumps falling out. They're lethargic. They got loss of memory, trembling, nightmares, night sweating, all sorts of infectious reactions to a chemical from the Persian Gulf War. But the only thing they all have in common is the shot that they made them take that had not been even sanctioned to use in the United States. And so they gave it to them when they got there. And anybody here get one of them shots? Because your ass going to be acting wild soon. We don't want to be nowhere near. Anybody, be honest now. We have to get you some help. We have to ask Sister Shakur, somebody take you away. Get some good help. Help does exist in the black community. But you just got to call out that you need it. So we be up check, right? We check on the help. When you need it, call out. I thought it was interesting that in the Coin and Tell Pro book, there was a program that has never been mentioned much. We're talking about the intelligence community. It's a program called the Ghetto Informant Program. During the time that Coin and Tell Pro was being set up, the 60s and the 70s, the FBI and the CIA actually had a program called the Ghetto Informant Program. And the qualification of the informant was that they had to live in the ghetto. And I thought that was kind of interesting because we haven't heard much about the Ghetto Informant Program. We heard a lot about Coin and Tell Pro. That's right. And the point of hearing about it is that it's past. It's gone now, so we hear a lot about what's past. I always use the term Now Intel Pro. What the fuck they doing now? Because that's really what's important to us. We understand what they did in the past to know the depths of their pathology, but it's now that's important to us. But now they found out they had a Ghetto Informant Program. It was begun in '67 to develop informants that would provide general intelligence on the potential for violence and civil unrest in black urban areas. In July of '73, after considerable debate within the FBI over the program's propriety, value, cost, the program was terminated by Director Kelly. Now, anytime they tell you a program has been terminated, remember that they're only talking about the program under the acronym as you know it now. In other words, the Ghetto Informant Program could become Black Power Informant Program and in fact be terminated. Yes, under that name it was terminated. So remember, the intelligence community never tells the truth. So if they say, I turned it off, then that means it's still on. You use the reverse theory of white interaction. Everything they say is just opposite of what it is. So they say it's off, you know it's on. So the Ghetto Informant Program says as of September of '72, there were 7,402 ghetto informants. 7,000. Now think about that. How many states are there? 50. Divide up 7,000 into 50. How many black communities are there in a state? 20, 25, not many. In fact, the way this program was set up based upon what I read, it looks as if they inserted intelligence apparatus in public housing. As they laid it, they placed it. In Chicago, as a matter of fact, what I'm most familiar with, there's housing councils, and more than not, those housing councils are cooperative with the local political leadership, who is cooperative with the local law enforcement community, who all our sublings, the Big Daddy. So we draw attention to this Ghetto Informant program. It says it was to forecast the possibility of urban riots and violence. What we keep looking at today is the watch potential, the watching. What is the watcher supposed to do? How does he calculate what he sees? How does he give points to what he's looking at? To give some understanding and to hear in their own words the power of deception, meaning that as they attempt to monitor you, your ability to deceive them can overthrow their own capabilities. And they always have a component for trying to equate whether or not they're being deceived. Is it possible, Sister Jamie and Brother Omar, that I could use is there a clean paper on the thing? Is that possible? Brother Reese, I'm going to try to set up in a way that I could use this. Says that these were for advance warnings. It says that originally conceived, the Ghetto Informant was to act as a listening post rather than an informant who actively sought information or who infiltrated particular groups. Now they're drawing distinctions in types of informants. A listening post informant is somebody that's just sent out to do what they do normally. And they're only supposed to hear what they heard. They're not supposed to over-ask, over-inquire, penetrate, bury into, lay low. They're just supposed to pick it up while they're out. Well, people talk too damn much anyway, so it ain't hard to pick up a lot of shit about what's going on. Can you imagine the depths of the intelligence community trying to assess what the gang boys doing? You can imagine how many gang boys ain't gang boys. They police. How many they done hooked up who got the crime dangling and now they out his eyes and ears for the establishment because this is the only way they can get out of trouble. And so we be conscious of that, the turnaround.
That's right.
Check. So, boy, they checking all over, Brother Reese. They checking all over. People be calling me, checking me all over the place. So we give some conscience to the fact that there was such a program that has been kept under low profile with us. Even though we thought we had heard all about what was in the batch of information that came out during what we now know as COINTELPRO. And this book is very good into exposing all of the phony letters. They got a lot of the LA stuff in here. This book probably needs to be copied by somebody locally. Also found in here a category list, a listing of how they categorize the people that they watched. And I thought it was interesting, how they set up their categories as being symbolic of what are the things that they were looking for from people, and to let you know, people say, well, do you think they spy on me? The question is, what categories do they have, and do you fit one of these? Category 1, all national leaders of revolutionary organizations whose aims and purposes include the overthrow and destruction of the government by force and violence or other unconstitutional means. That's why in language you always say that you want to activate the provisions of the Constitution that allow for its overthrow in lieu of illegal direction. Language. You're talking to them. They say that in the category number 1 are all national leaders who are part of organizations who want to violently or unconstitutionally overthrow the government. So in qualifying for the file, you're beating the file by asking for the enactment of the provisions of the Constitution, Remember, in the revolutionary layout, this is the book, The Masons Who Helped Shape the Nation, about the 56 Masons who wrote the Constitution. And so we claim that this was an illegal enterprise, that this was a secret society, and that this secret society was anti-black, and we accuse it of being a criminal enterprise, and everything it's done since its enactment it's being ruled illegal by us. It's a violation. We like a RICO case. You know, the racketeering and whatever they're doing on that thing, and they seize everything you got since you done that. Well, we're doing that to them. You declare these things. This is how you do it. You declare it. There was no law to overthrow Hitler, but they had to kick his ass and impose the law on him. So we're now dealing with the provision in a dialogue. This is how do you beat the file? You're out, you've got to talk about to the people. And the people say, well, let's run for mayor, let's be congressman, let's be senator, let's be president. And you're telling them that you know this shit don't work, that they killed everybody who ever meant anything to anybody, and they'll do this shit again. Therefore, you're organizing them now and you're telling them the whole truth. And the whole truth is that none of this shit will work. And that the shit got to come down and start up again. And so now you're laying the provision by calling for the portions of the Constitution that allow for its own self-destruction. Do you remember the provision?
The right to contract.
That's one part of it. There's the provisions. You have rights. It is your duty and responsibility to what?
To assemble.
Oh, let's see, you have a duty. Right.
Overthrow unjust government.
Right. You think Gregory used to talk about like, anyway, I ain't into the Constitution. So I can't quote you the article.
I was going to say, direct the contract, you contracted in and you can contract back out, so don't even have to fire a shot until the war breaks out.
Okay, that's heavy. I didn't catch it yet. But I'm going to listen to the tape when it's over and see if I catch that one, right? I know there's something in there. Right. So, I just say for my purposes, is that be conscious about the provision, because we're talking about beating the file. So you're now beating the category.
What provision is that?
It's the provision that says that you will end up in the file if your aim and purpose includes the overthrow and destruction of the government by force and violence or other unconstitutional means. And I'm suggesting that the government as an illegal enterprise can be overthrown as a declaration of the righteous. Check. The righteous have to step up for the declaration and declare that is an unrighteous, illegal, criminal enterprise. Hey, did y'all see George Bush at the Knights of Columbus meeting last week? Pledging his destiny like Columbus, he said, I'm just like Columbus. They didn't like him either when he come with the New World Order. And they didn't like him either when he showed up, didn't have a goal the first time. But look what he did. Look what he brought back to the white race. You had to check him. He had the Knights of Columbus meeting in New York. He talking a bunch of shit. Stuff. I'm sorry, I forgot. I'm at the Good Life. Got to talk clean. Good. I'm starting to have one of my tapes I'm marketing no cussing tapes. See, I was in New York and I got kids, man, we love your stuff. But so I got like no cussing material. So when you want the no cussing material for the kids, I tell you just which ones to get. Especially the Shrine of the Black Madonna in Houston, because there was no cussing in the shrine. So I can do it with no cussing. It's just, it's just a way about dialogue. Anyway, it says here that against persons rather than property, or have received special training in sabotage, espionage, guerrilla warfare, or have engaged in underground type operations. 2, revolutionaries though unaffiliated with any specific organization, who have demonstrated by acts or statements a propensity for violence, including acts of terrorism, assassination, or any interference with or threat to the survival and effective operation of a national, state, or local government and of the defense efforts. 3, national leaders of black extremist separatist organizations. 4, any individual who qualifies for the ADEX should be included in Category 1 if he is employed in or has access to a key facility. Now this is Category 2. Category 1 was all national leaders, and then broke down national leaders, revolutionaries, though unaffiliated with a specific organization, who've been violent, national leaders of black separatist groups, and individuals who have access to key facilities. Secondary. Category 2, secondary leadership of revolutionary and black extremist separatist organizations. Secondary leadership will comprise, for example, regional, state, and local leaders who are involved in policy making and fulfilling anti-U.S. objectives of their respective revolutionary organizations. Active participants in furthering the aims and purposes of a revolutionary or black extremist separatist organization with which affiliated. other unaffiliated revolutionaries who have demonstrated by acts or statements a propensity for violence against property rather than persons. Category 3, rank and file membership or participate. See, they say, you think they spy on me? Well, you're either the top leader, you're the sub leader, or you're the damn rank and file. Now, do they have a category on you? So automatically, you're in it. So you can't run it, but you just have to work around it. You're now working around something that you become comfortable with, like hot weather, or rainy weather, or snow. It isn't that you enjoy it, it's you learn how to tolerate it in a way that it doesn't circumvent your effectiveness. Okay. Rank and file membership in or participation in activities of revolutionary organizations within the last 5 years as evidenced by overt acts or statements established through reliable sources, informants, and individuals. Leadership or activist position in affiliated fronts of revolutionary organizations within the last 3 years. An individual who, although not a member or a participant in activities of revolutionary organizations, but considered an activist in affiliated fronts, has exhibited a revolutionary ideology and, in italic, is likely to seize upon the opportunity presented by a national emergency to commit acts of espionage, sabotage, including terrorism, assassination, or interference with or threat to the survival of an effective national, state, local government. That government shit is real tedious, boy. You know how they be talking. And then they got old category 4, individuals whose activities do not meet criteria of categories 1, 2, and 3. Now, what do that mean? That's the right to spy on everybody. So what I'm trying to now is to go through a formula with you. The formula suggests that there's a spot for even the children. So we understand when we're equating the value of each one of us, we understand that in their scheme of things, every one of us is a threat to them. The smallest thing you might do might be of a big threat to them. You might not understand the depth of that. I'm only trying to relate to each of us that in their scheme of things, they go way down the line. Therefore, don't vacillate about is the phone tapped. Of course it is. In fact, I've been having trouble with the phone that I use in Maryland, and the repairman came. I'm going to show you. The repairman came, and the first guy, 3 men in one day. First guy said it was downstairs, other guy said it was upstairs. The third guy came, said it was neither. When the third guy comes, he picks up the phone, he says, "This is technician 666. Can you read me?" I'm going to show you his card. He left his card, said, "If you have any trouble, call technician 666. And I know what happened to the phone, right? I know what's weight on the phone, right? But that's how, they don't say, "Look, nigga, now I'm the 666 technician." I said, "What?" The white boy was like built like Hulk Hogan or something. You know, I said, "Man, you don't look like no phone man." You know, he had long blonde hair and shit, look like he'd been on the beach. And ain't no water in Washington but the Potomac, and it's nasty and shit. So ain't no swimming in the area, right? So the 666 man show up, phone messed up 5 days, right? And so the 666 man come and show up and make the phone work and everything else. So I drop some. So anyway, we just keep up on that. And so that's no big deal. So you just have to change the way you do things. I'm coming to California, and so I have to call Marcus on the day I'm coming instead of calling him 10 days before I get here. So we know that the National Security Agency has a computer that constantly programs all of the reservations made on every airline. It takes, as we have come to find out, about 24 hours to 48 hours for a name watch to come down. In other words, if Coakley's name, Steve Coakley's name, is put in the travel watch, meaning that any reservation made in my name on any airline, boat, train, or whatever else there is that registers, that the National Security Agency picks up from each one of those travelers a constant realm of reservations. And that in that process, they will absorb my name. Now, to run how many people make a reservation at an airline for one airline in one day is thousands. Which means that if you got 10 airlines and you got tens of thousands of names registering every day, it takes the machine in Washington about 24 or 48 hours to crank your name around because it's got all those names to go through. Check. So that should give you some idea about traveling and reservation. But sometimes, and you have to make a decision, sometimes when you got nothing to hide, you don't hide. Don't play when you don't need to. Because then you'll draw attention to something where ain't nothing going on. And somebody will detain you for no reason at all. That's the worst thing to have happen, is for no reason at all. Okay, so we be up and conscious on that. Anyway, for the record, we'll get back to this later, Operation Maryland, which I want to reemphasize to those people back in Washington, D.C., in regards to how, in effect, it is used to protect. I don't know how much you all have heard about it here, but in Washington and Baltimore are pretty close. One of the biggest negative things going on is two negative things going on in Washington area right now. One is the upcoming genetic engineering conference for the youth, who are the big conference at University of Maryland College Park, where in fact I did Black and Jewish relations at University of Maryland. They hate me there, and I hate them there. It's a perfect relationship. We have great appreciation for what we are in real life. But there is the conference that's being funneled and financed by Boule Louis Sullivan, who is with this white man instituting the project to look at black children at birth and up to 9 years old about the tendency for criminal behavior through chemical structure of the brain. And the desire is to intervene with extra serotonin and other chemicals like saltpeter to neutralize the children, because a child like this is easy to control. So that's the ideal state for white America, since they can't stop the birth rate. Herpes simplex, complex, AIDS, ain't none of it work. Psychologically, we are still reproducing, God bless us. And that now they got a strand of AIDS they can't even count on. They can't, well, the niggas didn't get it like we said. We promised that we'd had the niggas all dead by 92, niggas still around, so they come and say, well, we got some shit now on the nigga we can't even track. That's to leave hope with the scientists who guarantee that they can kill you in a specific amount of time for the ones who gave them the authority to. To give them a little bit more time to pull off a little bit more shit, because the shit they pulled on the first round put a bigger dent in their operation than it did in ours. Check. Yeah, you mighty strong race. Now we got the NAACP in Washington, D.C., declaring as a gimmick to fight crime to declare martial law. You may have seen these Negroes on, they had them on Sunday Today show about a week or two ago, pledging for the calling of martial crime. Now, a couple of lectures I'm going to give while I'm here. We're going to do an update of the attack on rap and other black youth, where we're going to talk about the attack on the children through the use of crime, the attack on crime, and look at the Sister Soldier thing and the Ice-T thing and a lot of things going on we need to be conscious of. And for the sister, I have a little Sister Soldier story to tell you about, and a video of her press conference that she held in Washington recently, and a little anecdote. I went to New York a couple of times, and sometimes I be so straight about what I see that everybody want to meet with you because they don't like it. But when they really think about it, they don't really want to meet with you because they don't want you to tell them to their face. So I have some little personal stories about Sister Soldier, and we're going to be taking care of the Ice-T part while we're here, because I'm confused. If it is that he stopped selling the record because the heads of Warner were being threatened, well, the motherfuckers make $42 million a year. If they can't buy some protection with $42 million in their pocket, Ice-T can't call off no dogs on no white men. Right. So if the white men are in trouble, let them go and get their ass kicked, brother man. You don't need to make it easier for them. And our sister who loves empowerment, who had Clinton on the ropes but couldn't call Clinton's Rhodes Scholarship or Clinton's trilateral relationship, because Sony, too, got the same relationships. We find that to keep our relationship with whites, we're compromising the race. And these are intolerable conditions. I went through that shit with Public Enemy 2-3 years ago. Right. I know where the bend comes in when the threat of not making the money is clear, because as much as they love the black people, their biggest threat is not to become an average black person again. And it's for fear of the average black that keeps them in relationships that compromise their character with white people. And we're going to talk about that. And I had a debate with David Mills, who wrote the article in the Post that jammed her, who wrote the original article on Public Enemy, Professor Griffith, Steve Coakley, in '88. he had no business even being talked to by Sister Soldier or anybody else, because we've been kicking this boy's ass all over the country. And knowing what she know about the community, she should never spoke to him. But we'll talk about that when we do the update on the attack on rap and other black youth. And I suggest that you listen in to the old one, which we did here in about 1990-91, because the update has some very interesting dialogue we need to be conscious of. Anyway, wanted to just mention that attack on rap. You all may have seen this Sister Daima stuff too. I still got it. In your paper here the other day, you saw a white boy who used to be a basketball coach, who is now the program coordinator of the Weed and Seed program, named Digger Phelps. Used to be the basketball coach at Notre Dame University. Now makes $104 a year coordinating the Weed and Seed program. What's up, brother Warren? Coordinating the Weed and Seed. How you doing? You all right? Coordinating the Weed and Seed program. And so this is a very dangerous moment, because one of the later goals of the intelligence community's work is the Weed and Seed program, which is supposed to spot out all the felons and potential felons in a neighborhood and weed them out. How do you get rid of a person who is a potential criminal? Label them, neutralize them. Like when I was here last, the 4 white boys had a super secret paramilitary unit out there in Long Beach killing each other. They call them a youth club. So that they didn't end up in the probation department's gang file, they call them a youth club. And everybody here called, I just come back, I seen the story still, they still messing with them, but they still a youth club, but they were far more sophisticated in some cases than some Army Reserve units.
That's right.
But they still a youth club, not qualifying for the GREAT program. Remember the GREAT file? That was your gang file here, that even lists potential gang members. Now you beat that. See, I'm trying to raise up with you that the intelligence community is so desperate now that they're expanding the potential victim to include everybody. Because, see, a child, they got a program now to computerize the immunization of every child by the age of 2. This is an anti-crime program. Now you tell me, what does an immunization of a child by 2 got to do with crime? Now we just had a baby here here in California last Sunday. First thing they want to do, we're in a birth facility, first thing they want to do is shoot them up with hepatitis B. We got this hepatitis B here because majority of the people coming in got hepatitis B, so we want to give your baby the hepatitis B antidote. I'll kill you. You just better walk it on up. No, but what I can tell is that women who've been drugged with no one there, their baby will be shot up because they take the baby out the room. First thing they want to do is take, and anybody at the hospital I just left, which we didn't want to be there, it just so happened that by the time we grabbed the midwife at the black family reunion last weekend, we were closer to the birthing center than opposed to the house we was going to have it in. We went in the birthing center just to check. And too late, the baby was moving, so we stayed right there. But anybody down there tell you the hell they went through last Saturday and Sunday with me, Sister, Brother Marcus, and everybody else to keep them from taking the baby out the room. Period. Period. Just to take the baby out the room. All day they play you. When you fall asleep and you're slightly sleeping, they're trying to wheel the baby out the room to get it someplace where they can play with it. And I'm telling you, listen, from your placenta all the way down, take it all with you. Don't leave them shit. I'm telling you. Listen, I'm telling you, it's dangerous. It's dangerous. And even the birth certificates here. We saw the birth certificate on intelligence gathering. On the birth certificate application, father's occupation, father's income, father's work number. Now this is on a birth certificate for a child. Say this is just for other research. Cross all that. I don't even think they can file the birth certificate of our baby. I don't even think they filed it because we wasn't filling it out the way they wanted us to. So unless we leave the country legally, we don't need it. And they know, fuck it. I didn't need you down there no way. Oh, excuse me. Skip it. Now I'm trying. Yes.
After David will do it. After David.
Oh yeah, we be after David. Oh right. Now I understand. now. Oh, okay. What I need to do? I got so much I want to do. Okay, now let me do this here. One thing we find the intelligence community is doing a lot of now. There's a little hodgepodge before we get down to some hot business. There's a guy out now, they're pumping him all over the street named Terrence Jackson. Every time I go to New York, they put this guy on the stage with me. He wrote this book here, putting it all together. They put him on Tony Brown's Journal a couple of weeks ago, a month or two ago, with Bob Law. Embarrassed the little brother, because he was on to talk about the trilateral. Tony Brown just crushed his ass, right? See, Tony Brown works for Pepsi-Cola, who Donald Kendall is on the executive committee of Trilateral. So he fights hard any of the boogeyman conspiracy stuff because his daddy's from there. In fact, remember Tony Brown as the brother who organized the meeting with the 30 niggas at the White House for 30 minutes. Remember during the rebellion, Dorothy Height and Ben Hooks and all them went and met with Bush? Yeah. Well, Tony Brown set that meeting up. It was 30 niggas. They had 30 minutes. Each nigga got 30 seconds. Now look, you got 30 minutes, you got 30 niggas. You give each one of them 30 seconds. It takes 15 minutes. You give the president another 15 minutes, you got 30 niggas in the White House for 30 minutes. That's all it takes. They go out to all other niggas, president gonna do right. Right? Then president comes here, goes to the black church and says, I am my brother's keeper, which is a Masonic buzzword. And the church that he gave it from, what's the name of the church he gave that speech from? Because I bet you that E.V. Hill is a big-time press hall mason. I bet you. I don't even know him. I can tell you in the blind, Bush wouldn't have said the Masonic code word, I am my brother's keeper. The first words out of his mouth. And this is the only place he speaks from with black people. That's right. I know there had to be a Masonic guy. I'm going to check him while I'm here. And we already know Cecil Murray got used by the intelligence community to replace the Jesse Jackson figure. He was the replacement. He the 177th point of light of George Bush, so we already knew he was on the team.
That's right.
Right, now I already know about that place. That's a whole nother subject. But I refer you to the Riot Report audio, $20. Excellent. And the Riot Report video that we did in Long Beach, that's $40. Anyway, they're putting a lot of people in the black community who don't know the subject area that they're claiming to cover. In other words, see, in the future, the media no longer, this is a confession, not of ours, but of theirs. The media no longer, in terms of intelligence, is responsible for reporting to you false news. They do that naturally. But their role now is becoming more increasingly to repudiate the people's knowledge that they generated themselves. Now listen to me. The people say, we trilateral, fuck the CFR, watch this, watch that. Now they don't even write it in their paper. So then they come out and say, you know that trilateral CFR, that ain't no good. They're trying to repudiate what the people are saying to themselves. That becomes more